Sorry. Give me a second, and we will get started. I getting off a couple of minutes late, but please don't please don't desert me because of that. Just got to do a little bit of locking up, couple more minutes, and then I will be right with everybody. And hello to Jay. I see a new fan, so I'm glad you're with us. Just give me a couple minutes, and I'll be right with you all. I am telling you, people, it is a warm day where I am today in California. It is pretty warm, and I wear a flame retardant uniform all day long, which makes it feel like it's at least 10 degrees hotter. So I am dripping with sweat right now. So I'm so glad that I will not have the camera on. But yes, let me just finish this last thing. I gotta lock up the gates at work, and then once I'm in the car, we will get started. Oh, cool. It looks like Jay, is our new friend came over from Franco's channel. I have to make sure to shoot Franco a message later on, give him a call and tell him how much I appreciate, him always putting me out there and giving me an opportunity, especially to come onto his platform and talk about some of the issues that I like to talk about. Um, um, my issues that I want to talk about are right on point and right on par with what's going on in the media, but occasionally some different things which I tend to care about more than other people. So I understand when some of my videos are hit or miss. But let's go on ahead and get started. Hello, this is what I've been thinking with Marcus Cage, car ride chats. And in this car ride chat, I got a bunch of things which I want to talk about. Oh shoot, give me a heads up if the audio is still bad, Jay. Can you hear me better? If not, I might have to switch and put my or take the headphones out. I could try that. I know that unfortunately I will have some moments where I do kind of go in and out. I know that. And then I know when I get towards the train tracks near my house, it starts to cut out a little. So when you guys see that, um, please immediately start putting in the chat when you start having difficulty hearing me so I can pay attention to wherever I left off and then pick back up on that point. So yeah, we'll keep that heads up, and hopefully Stevie hops in. A lot of times she's pretty good at catching me right when I go out and reminding me where I'm at. So I was watching, like, I guess it's a bunch of different subjects which I can talk about, but in particular, I wanted to talk about the critical race theory. I want to talk about Joe Biden and him bombing Syria and Iraq. I mean, I almost kind of even forgot about it for half a moment because it's not something that has been, you know, has a lot of attention has not been focused on it, and so it's something that gets out of sight, out of mind. What's going on in Iraq and Syria, and even though I follow foreign policy so much, I even forget about it because um, I've been focusing so much on what's been going on with China, North Korea, Israel, and Palestine that I've kind of missed out on Iraq and Syria. But yes, he is bombing over there, which is a good reminder that we shouldn't be there in the first place. Um, but that's all I'll say on the bombing because it's no point of trying to argue Biden from doing stupid shit because that's how you hear him attack his wife. Um, but as far as the infrastructure, I'll touch on that real quick. The infrastructure, the way they're doing it, they're not going to get anything accomplished, and guarantee that this process is going to get dragged all the way out. And more than likely, we're going to have what I pray this doesn't happen, but I got a feeling that this is what it's going to take to actually get some real money. We're going to have to actually have a major bridge fall. I know it sucks to put it that way, but that's what I believe. Because, I mean, 10 years ago, our roads and bridges were at a nationwide. And just let that keep on carrying on the way it's been going. And you are setting yourself up for disaster. So that's something that I just want us all to keep aware of. If you have bridges in your area that you know of that, I don't know, maybe they've rated it badly, they've had some kind of worries about it. I would advise you to avoid using those directions of traffic, because they're not safe, and we have a government that is not going to take care of it on the local level or on the federal level. So just to guard yourselves, I would be on the. I mean, if there's another way to go around some of these bridges and different roads which are rated that way, and that's what I advise. I mean, even if it takes you a little bit more time to go around, it safety is what matters. I mean, when it comes to it, that day when it actually falls, do you want to be sitting in traffic with your whole family and hope that you guys survive? I wouldn't gamble with this government. I wouldn't just assume because Biden says this or he says that things are necessarily going to be worked out. For instance, when they talked about that not foreclosure, foreclosure moratorium and eviction moratorium. Well, for those who don't know, one of my co-hosts, he he can testify to that moratorium was kind of nonsense, because this is what is not factored in. When you have these people who are in the real estate game, who are in the rental game, all these different things like that, they understand very, very well how these policies come out, how long it takes for this to happen, when that happens. And so, literally, what they did was they waited until right at that 12:01 hour when it was expired, and then immediately blitzed in and ran through as many evictions as they could before Joe Biden can come and do his reauthorization. Um, I mean, I think it was maybe 12 hours, but in that 12-hour period, they made sure to run around and evict as many people as possible in the state of Georgia, mostly in the Atlanta and Savannah area. I'm now hearing is where a lot of this took place. So if you hear, oh, well, they have a moratorium for this, and well, you're going to be safe, don't automatically think that, because there are people who are always looking for the loophole, and they will find the loophole. And if you don't have the means to fight them, you're just screwed. Um, let's see. I talked about Mr. Biden, and I talked about trying to remember. I thought it was one. Oh yeah, that's right. I needed to talk about Mike Gravel. Um, for those who don't know much about my political positioning, in 2008, I was a supporter of Mike Gravel. Not originally. I mean, I started out going through the different candidates, and eventually, you know, Obama looked like he was going to win, and because naturally, seeing somebody of a similar hue of mine, rising to the highest office, it's an intangible good. Even though when I really think about it, Obama's different. He's not really the same, But hey, when you're that desperate to see some kind of progress I mean, for your group of people, for your nation of people, in a sense, to see them actually start to have some achievements instead of always being at the bottom of society, it's
easy for us to glom onto Obama. But, but the one thing which I didn't think about even at that time is Obama's father is a Kenyan, not somebody here stateside. And that's something also that people need to understand. When they try to put it into this, Africans are all the same, or well, you came over in the slave trade, you're the same as these people. No, we all know that Africans sold, sold so-called other Africans into the slave trade. Think about it. If you're a nation, would you sell your own people? No, you're not selling your own people. You're selling another tribe that's not part of you, and that's what happened. So the people which were being sold into the transatlantic slave trade are not the same people as those same people who were in those regions. Those people knew the difference, and it's just kind of something which the world as a whole is kind of taken in a really racist lens, in my opinion. Um, it's funny, you can trace most Caucasians back to about four ancestors who lived at a certain time period. You cannot do that with Black people at all. It's too many variations. It's too many differences. And so I always thought it was ironic that the group which is more homogenous thinks that they're not homogenous and makes the group that's the most diverse homogenous. I mean, it's just kind of, what I've learned in the system, everything is always upside down and backwards, you know, and I guess that leads into this whole critical race theory. Um, I decided I wanted to spend most of my time talking about this, and I made sure in there that I wanted to call out some of the people who I've heard say stuff specifically, and then also at the same time I'm calling out anybody who is against so-called critical race theory. For one, calling it critical race theory is just maybe that was a stupid name, whoever came up with that name, but teaching actual history that was not taught in school is not critical race theory. It's just teaching fucking history. It's not, I don't know why. And the reason why it is, and let's just be honest, this is why I love my people on the left. Even some of the people who knew, and I use this example all the time because I feel like this is, I guess, the most flagrant that you can use. Even people who knew that their ancestors were slave masters, they're able to overcome that and say, hey, we want to fight to change things and overturn things, and so that things never go back that way. And yes, I'm sorry for what my ancestors did. Well, what's going on with these Fox people is, for one, they don't want any kind of correction. They don't want people to get educated because they have fear. Most of them are scared that if more minorities, especially Black people, actually start learning how horrible slavery actually was and start really learning the totality of things, they're scared of the backlash. That's all it is. Now, if the backlash is at most just a bunch of angry Black people yelling at you, get over it, white people. Quit being so damn scared. Quit being so timid to just deal with reality. It happened. Most people know the history, but you all want to pretend like it's not real. And all that's going to do for those people who believe that way, I'm not saying everybody, because I know, I've been trying to make sure to do a better disclaimer of this after I got called a racist not that long ago. That there were always allies, of the Caucasian persuasion to help out, whether it was, you know, slaves part of the transatlantic slave trade, whether it was the early natives or indigenous people, whether it was like, people who were going through the Mexican Repatriation Act. It was so many different things where there are always people who were always pushing and fighting and being allies. Now, the shitty part about it is, for that maybe 10 to 20% who's helping, there's 80% who are either they don't care or they're vigorously against it. And that's where this problem comes in. I mean, I literally sat there, I've sat there with most of these these conservatives, because I like to put it on conservatives, because it's mostly conservative, and when it becomes a conservative, it really doesn't matter what color they are. I mean, it's like every single black conservative, when it comes to this issue, it to me, I'm just gonna call it how it is. To me, you're a sellout. You're a complete sellout, and your ancestors are rolling in their graves. The fact that and like when I heard what was it? It was a young black male, and he's sitting there with his daughter, and then I heard a woman. She was saying the same thing. They both make the same argument. Well, I don't need nobody to tell me this, and I can raise my kid, and I'm going to teach my kid this. Critical race theory is not about what you yourself teach your kid. My parents taught me to have good morals. I mean, my mom, and well, other family members. They taught me to respect people. They taught me to treat people with decency. But that didn't mean what they taught me somehow spilled over to the rest of my class. The education which I was learning and what I was learning about, I mean, every part of history that you can think of, because not only have I studied a lot of Latin American history, very steeped in Puerto Rican and Cuban history, and also ancient history, the Levant, and a lot of ancient Europe. And to know these stories in detail, for instance, they don't want to teach a lot of things in history, but I mean, I guarantee you asked a random person, hey, did you guys know that there was a genocide in the Congo literally at the same time as the Holocaust, which killed more people? And there was actual literal slavery going on there? Nobody knows that. And that's the reason why this education is important. You shouldn't try to run from it. Because here's the thing, people like me are not going to stop seeking out this information and learning this history. And if you get to the point where you just want to marginalize it and you want to ignore it, what you're doing is you're building a rift, because you're going to have people who are in the know of what really happened and accepting it and deal with it and processing it. And you have these other people who know nothing about history and are going to be talking ignorantly the whole time and are going to be supported by a whole ignorant educational system. I mean, it's ironic to me that Republicans have the nerve to want to go against critical race theory when they literally were the ones who were implying critical race theory. If you go back to after the Civil War days, all they did was push how no, you need to frame the South in a better light. You can't frame them as bad and as horrible as most of them really were. No, we have to lie and we have to frame this narrative that makes them look a little bit better. And then, even though they pushed that and it led to all these Confederate statues all over the place, I mean, we literally had a president not that long ago who was showing Birth of a Nation in the damn White House. I mean, all critical, I don't like the term, that's the reason why in the Twitter tweet I put out the 1619 project. Also, the most, and here's the thing, say some of my white counterparts, you guys might have had a little bit of better educational system, and you might have learned some of these things. Well, I can guarantee you, I could talk to most black people, say 3 years ago, and none of them would have known what you say. Hey, what happened in 1619? Most of them wouldn't have known, wouldn't have had a clue, because even even what happened during slavery is not even taught in school. It's taught that we had slaves and slavery happened, and then the Mayflower came over. There were some slaves. That stuff happened, and then Lincoln saved the slaves. Well, here's the thing: a lot of people know about Lincoln supposedly freeing the slaves, but here's the thing: most of them did not know about Juneteenth, which happened. What was it? I believe 2 years later. Most of the people didn't know that. I knew it. I grew up celebrating this holiday. Grew up celebrating it for most of my life. And if you're in a heavily black community, most of us have been celebrating this holiday as the real end of slavery, as like an unofficial holiday for us. And now what Congress is thinking they can do is just, oh, well, we'll just we'll make it a national holiday, and And then that's like some kind of form of reparations, I guess. Giving every single body a day off is some kind of reparation to us. And this is what I've come to notice. Every single time, it has to be something to try to rectify the damages which were done, and one of America's initial horrible sins. The people never, ever, ever want to do anything to try to fix it or clear it up. Let's see. Yes, Jay says history repeats. When I was 4 years old, I made a commitment to never use racial adjectives. Slavery never ended; it transformed. But yeah, slavery never ended; it just transformed. And now, I would say we're in a form of uh, a perpetual indentured servitude. Everybody as a whole at this point. I mean, it wasn't that bad, but and now it's not even erasing. It's gotten to the point where as they've grown with their corporations, they needed more people at the bottom. So the people at the top, they don't have any beans about throwing their own people to the bottom, also, and saying, you know what, now you guys can be servants too. And therein lies the problem. As long as the elite have this attitude that everybody below them is disposable, and nobody wants to seriously call that out. I mean, conservatives want to run up to the Capitol and act a fool for Trump, and Trump ain't really even got y'all anything. All he's doing is talking shit. That shows how desperate most people are. They're so desperate that they just want to hear somebody scream and yell and bark. I mean, I think back to the Bernie Sanders campaign. Um, I was a part of Bernie Sanders campaign both times, and in all honesty, even though I didn't believe he was going to get anything done, hardly, even if he got elected, it was the fact that he was going to try. And I saw nobody trying out there to do a damn thing. And so at a certain point, if you're not, what do they say, if you haven't had, water and you're dehydrated, you can get some hot water with dirt and mud in it. It's going to taste like the greatest thing ever. But if you're naturally and properly hydrated, that same water is going to be disgusting to you. Well, as a society, we are all dehydrated because we have not been getting what we need or what we've been asking for. The point that I made last night when I was on, I had DJ L7. The point which I made with him, excuse me, but that you got the problem that we have is we have lost we have lost sight with actual reality and following it. I made the analogy: if you hired somebody to fix something in your home and it does not get fixed, how long before you start, hey man, I'm about to cut the payback, hey, I'm not going to offer you this, or you just outright fire the person? You would not tolerate that in your own home. And that's how you have to look at, the rules and the laws and the function of this nation. This is our home right now. And so you got to look at them as that plumber coming in to fix the sink. He's not your landlord. So this bowing to them and this giving them excuses, and no. I mean, even if and I put it this way, say that plumber had every problem. I mean, say, his worker who works with him, he couldn't make it, and then, oh well, his wife was tripping out, and so now he has to go run and pick up the kid. You're gonna be a little bit sympathetic at first to some of those things, but in all honesty, after a while, you're like, okay, dude, I don't care. Either you get this done, or I will get somebody who can get it done. And we have accepted all of the excuses that they make. That, oh well, I just didn't get this, and the Republicans did that, and that's nonsense. Because when we can watch Joe Manchin or Kirsten Sinema go in there and blow up a whole bill by themselves, what that tells you is Bernie Sanders could have been blowing up whole bills by himself, and he didn't. That's something that we have to pay attention to. You know, Jay says Sanders was the OG fraud in my humble opinion. He was, and I'm not afraid to admit when I was a little bit wrong about somebody. Um, I honestly had it in my head that he could, if he just got the opportunity. And last time around, I felt like, okay, he made some bad decisions here and there. Okay, he's going against the first woman, so he kind of tucked his tail a little bit. But this time around, I mean, we knew how much they cheated. And channels like, well, I'll say the network, like MCSC Network, you know, most of them were almost like a choir, like singing it out what was going on the whole time about the corruption, about down in Tim Canova's area where the box of votes disappeared and things like that. They had videos of people like tossing ballots in the trash, all kind of stuff. And so knowing this around, knowing that Bernie says, "Okay, I've heard all these lawyers. We're going to be so ready," and then for the Iowa caucus, they somewhat you know worked and did their part, but what ended up happening is when it came down to where they really should have been pushing and fighting, they didn't. And I know lawyers have no problem. You pay them, they will fight for whatever you tell them to fight for. But obviously, the candidate was telling them not to fight. And that's the reason why he did that. Oh shit, I cut out again. Hopefully you got me now. See, I was wrong about Obama too. It happens, you learn and grow. Yeah, I was wrong about Obama too. And part of it is when you're, as a black male and you see a supposed other black male, possibly ascending to presidency, it's easy to ignore a lot of shit. Easy to ignore. Just like, I understand some of these people who they were so hardcore in the Warren camp. It was easy for them to ignore some shit because they just wanted a woman in there. And the same thing with, well, I would say the same thing with Hillary people, that to a degree, some of them, but they're not able, many of them are not able to even see the errors of their ways. They're just so much in this reverse sexism kind of thing where it's all about women. It's, men are just horrible, destroy the men, down with the men, kill the men. It's like, and the irony of it, which I always find funny, is like white women have always been above black men in every sense of power, have always been above. And now black men, we get grouped into the white male patriarchy. It's like, how is the person who's at the top and the person at the bottom, now you're going to group all of them together? And so now I need to be pushed down a couple of steps lower. I mean, come on, ovarian voters. I love it. That's a good one. Yeah, Bernie's job is to pacify, mislead, bring the masses back to corruption. Yeah, like for now on, I completely only look at Bernie as a complete sheep herder. And I felt like maybe there was some kind of fight and there was some kind of strategy in years past, but at this point now, there's no strategy. There's just complete capitulation. I mean, it's almost like at first he was the kid who were getting bullied and wouldn't step up. Now he's the kid getting paid to take a dive. That's the difference I feel about him now. Before I just kind of looked at him as kind of a little bit of a pussy. And I wish that he would have had more of a backbone. Um, and I made sure, and I will always voice this out over and over and over, because if this comes up to this person, I want them to know that yes, I completely stand by it. What was it? Tim Black went into this whole, you know, um, what are y'all expecting to do? Like making a defense for him, and I'm like, you realize I'm a combat veteran, right? I expect you to do every fucking thing in your power. I mean, I look at most of my heroes who were civil rights or just revolutionaries in general. How many of them died for what they believe in? And so that's how I believe. I believe that strongly on the points which I stand on, that I'm willing to die for them. Now, if you're not to that level, then maybe you should kind of take a couple steps back and let people who are more to that level, lead. And it's no shame in admitting, okay, all right, okay, you want it a little bit more than I do. But don't sit there and try to act like most of us are some kids, in a basement somewhere who are just talking out our ass and wouldn't, or not really about what we're talking. Many of us are extremely militant and are willing to make the sacrifice for future generations. I mean, I wouldn't have joined the military at 17 if I had that kind of fear in my heart. And then also think about it. When the civil rights were getting capped off, it's not like they literally were having a speech everywhere, all over the cities, and I mean, all over the country. And just randomly, somebody said, "All right, you all have the green light," and they shot them all at the same time. It didn't happen like that. They were literally getting shot, hearing about another person getting shot, and then trying to figure out, damn, true shit, I might get shot doing this shit. All right, let me say a couple of prayers and just wish. These people literally took out there knowing that their life could be, could be taken at any moment. I mean, we're going to, for instance, what was that, Fred Hampton? How, I mean, think about it. It's in the 70s. He literally watched Martin Luther King and all these other people die before him. Malcolm X, he saw him die. Medgar Evers, he saw him die. I mean, I could sit there and keep on going down the list with plenty of politicians. I mean, not politicians, but civil rights leaders. I mean, RFK, JFK. I mean, at the same time, he watched what happened with Che Guevara. So he watched all of this shit go on, and so I feel like that's the point that we need to be to. And I think part of that reservation from some of these different people who feel that way is because they they're the what are they're more Gen X, and I feel like every couple of like every couple of years, up the age group, they all get a little bit more timid. They all get a little bit more comfortable. They all are less willing to fight. That's the reason why the fight needs to be always on the youth. That's the reason why the Panthers. Most people didn't realize most of the Panthers were only in their teens and 20s. I mean, Fred Hampton got shot at 21, meaning that the FBI, our government, was that scared of what a 21-year-old kid was saying, which shows you how fragile and how weak they actually are. And if we constantly keep peppering them with these messages and exposing them, shining the light onto them and onto their nonsense and onto what they are trying to do, whether to you individually, to your community, or whether trying to go against multiple communities or use a community against your community. All of these things are all being orchestrated on a from up on high. Um, as my co-host Elle says often, she calls them the predator class. I kind of look at them more as the vulture class. They're gonna pick in. They like to go skim off the bottom. You know, we're at the bottom, and we're their favorite targets to attack, to malign, to abuse. Let's see. What did you say there? I see a couple of comments. I have a strategy. I know nothing about you. I am allergic to all things metadata and corporate. No need to be violent, just smart. I'm sorry you were abused this way. Um, I saw them all die at 22. Yeah. Oh, yeah, 22. Fred was an activist at 12 and a genius. Yes, he was. And that's my thing. And as I started doing more research, looking back, I mean, you can go into and regardless of whatever people's actual philosophical beliefs or political beliefs. I mean, you look back to Karl Marx. You look to Dostoevsky. You look into Epicurus. You look back to Plato. You look at Schopenhauer. You look throughout all of these different philosophers throughout different times, and they were always, the government was always fearful of them. So, what we have here, and I don't even want to just look at the 60s and 70s. I mean, we can go all the way back to, Booker T. Washington and shoot, why can't I remember his name? The other one who was his contemporary at the time. W.E.B. Du Bois, and people like Ralph Bunche, and one of my biggest heroes, Marcus Garvey. Um, there's these people throughout time. Every time somebody was trying to improve the quality of life for the downtrodden, those at the top took it as like an act of war, and they can, and it's always been strange to me why any little bit of that bottom class moving up terrifies the mess out of the elite. They can. It's like, what do you think? Well, I know part of my theory is if you look back to the 60s and 70s, economically, a lot of people were doing a lot better than they were, now. Well, if you have a lot of people doing a little bit better economically, they and I'm not saying they were doing great, but they were doing well enough that they weren't mostly struggling. Like they weren't struggling to keep a roof over their head. So what that does is that allows you to look around and say, wait a minute, look at the things in this society. Are we okay with this society? Are we okay with the way we treat women? Are we okay with the way we treat various minority groups? Are we okay with the way we persecute people for their religion? Do we actually really support these wars that we're going to? What that does is that gets your population actually start thinking and having conversations, um, and focusing on other problems within the society because they're not focusing on necessity. Like that's the reason why climate change doesn't it kind of falls with a flat dud a lot of times, especially in the inner cities, because it's like many of those people are like, I'm just trying not to get shot by cops. I don't really have time to worry about climate change. I mean, if you can help me with this stuff, then we can get on to other things. And that's always like I've always had the approach. I will try to help whoever I can, whichever I can. I'm extremely sympathetic to those who are on the bottom of society. And so that's who I predominantly fight for. And then I have people who love to say, you know what, people like you're just whiners. And it's like, no, I just know history. I mean, somebody like that will tell me, oh, there's no way that you're oppressed or anything. For one, I grew up in a fatherless household, to a single mom who had been evicted a couple of times and had to live with our grandparents. I so with my grandparents being my basically my father figures, that's only 1 degree of separation from slaves. Yes, my great grandmother, well, great grandparents were slaves. It's not that far away. So when I have somebody act like, well, slavery was 400 years ago. Yeah, the start of it was 400 years ago. I mean, the Emancipation Proclamation was 1865. That's not that far ago. I mean, my great grandparents were alive then. My grandfather, well, not only grandfather, my grandparents, they actually, um, they actually were children right there at Tulsa. Their parents, being freed slaves, it finally started building up something in that part of Oklahoma, and then they had to watch as planes are flying over and people are dropping. I'm trying to remember, what was it? Nitroglycerin, I believe that they were throwing out. Molotov cocktails of nitroglycerin, bombing, you know, an innocent town just because they didn't like the fact that they were starting to make too much money. Another thing also in Black Wall Street or Greenville, Tulsa, Oklahoma, um, also the money, the dollar in that community would go around. It was something like 30 times that dollar would circulate through the community. The moment that that happened, the numbers today, I think it's something like 30 seconds that money stays in the black community. And part of the reason why is if you don't have stores in your community, what do you have to do? You got to go shop in somebody else's community. Oh, there's my homie there. There's Stevie. See, oh, okay. Schopenhauer definitely was a pessimist. He definitely was. Um, but I like to try to read all of these different philosophers to just understand all of their different viewpoints. Um, I know that me personally, a lot of my personal beliefs, um, I'm in a minority group. I'll put it that way. I'm in an extreme minority group in what I believe, on a lot of things. And I'm fine with that. So that's the reason why I try to reach out, try to figure other people's perspectives and understand how they view the world. That way, I can find my ways to try to find where there's intersectionality, and where we can actually be able to build and have, a fruitful conversation. Um, and so that's where I am. And then also, I try to be an open book as much as possible. It's like any question anybody wants to ask me about anything, I'll give them the answer. Now, on certain things, do they necessarily want the answer? I don't know. It might not be greatest for them to have some of these answers, but I'm always going to give, you know, I'm always going to be as truthful as possible. I'm always going to try my best to research the information that I bring up and things like that also. Um, so, you know, back to the what led me kind of off into my little overall rant. Um, Critical race theory and the 1619 project, those things are vital, but they're not only vital, I mean, they are essential to actually healing the wounds of this nation. Um, Many don't even think about like some of the internal racisms that they might have. I mean, I watched the whole documentary, and here's the thing: I knew this was what was going on, but I had to hear somebody actually say it. Well, I heard multiple people in this video say it, but they all basically said, I can't help it. Yes, I am a little racist. Sometimes when I look at a black person, I automatically assume I'm smarter than them. Huh, interesting. For the last probably 3 months, I've noticed anytime I'm having a debate with somebody dealing with politics, um, typically the Caucasian race that I don't know, they automatically assume that I don't know anything, that they have to teach me something, that whatever I cite, it's not trustworthy. It didn't come from a legitimate source, even though I mean, let's see. I probably read more encyclopedias than most people have even looked at. And then on top of that, the studying, just sheer studying, which people don't, they refuse to do. So, have I already covered the critical race theory section yet? Because I don't really know anything about it. I've heard a lot of people talking about it. I guess I'll give you an overview of what it is. Since you're not familiar with it, all it is it's trying to teach different parts about the early history dealing with slavery, and some of the treatment, whether it was it's not only to do with slavery. It's going into Jim Crow. It's going into sundown towns. It's going into a lot of the stuff which is just not taught in schools, and especially in the South, a lot of this stuff's not taught. Well, the South and the West, I would say, are probably the most ignorant on a lot of these things. Um, there's so many subjects which I talk to people on the West Coast, which are very, very intelligent and smart people, but it just was not taught to them in school. I mean, at all. And I learned that to a degree, when you live on the coast, some people on the coast, they just completely ignore the whole middle of the country. I mean, they really do treat it like flyover country. And it's not just for the news and politics. They treat it like that historically also. They don't try to figure out, okay, well, what about the slave states and free states, because they weren't involved in any of that. They almost teach history like right after everything got going and don't delve into it. Um, I watched the main reason why I wanted to get into this topic and talk about it is I watch people like Chris Tucker on Fox News, and I watch PragerU, and I tag them in it because hope, I hope one of them is on there. I would love for one of them to debate somebody like me on that and tell me that, oh yeah, critical race theory is racist. No, this nation was set up racist, and what it is you're scared. You are scared to admit the fucking truth. Why? Well, because you feel guilty. That's why you're scared. Now, let's see. Oh yeah, it is something that we should know about. Like I was saying earlier, as I said, if we can understand the history, then some of these people who, especially a lot of these Republicans, just make stupid ass comments like, "Well, I mean, yeah, you can definitely get ahead. I mean, everything's a free and balanced society." No, it's not. I mean, I just had a candidate on. I just had a candidate on who literally told me that they just found, I guess, records showing in 1921 in my hometown that the KKK literally infiltrated all of the major positions in city government, including law enforcement. And it gave the names in which positions they were in, judges, all kind of stuff. And so we literally have proof of white supremacy. And people like Tucker Carlson are like, no, 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 just ignore that. Just ignore that. We don't need to hear that stuff. And what I'm saying is, if you have something happening to somebody and you want to try to ignore it, eventually that's going to cause a bigger rift, I feel, to not talk about it. Because what you're going to start doing is, it, it unfortunately, you're going to actually make more people into racists because they're not going to realize what they're saying is even racist. Because this is what I asked somebody. I said, so if you're going to tell me that white supremacy is just all a figment of our imaginations, because now it's kind of weird to say white supremacy, because at this point now, I guess I can call it white supremacy and white supremacy and class supremacy, because now if you're under a certain bracket level, it doesn't matter which color you are in their eyes. You might as well just be another minority. So I know. Well, the only reason why I looked at it, and well, it wasn't even really them. I kind of like heard, I kind of like loosely heard about it, and then every now and then I will pay attention to what is it? Breaking points. What their analysis 75% of the time is dog shit, but the topics that they will bring up will be it'll catch my attention, and I'll feel like, you know what, I do got to push back on that, because we have a lot of good allies who are trying to fight against that stuff. I mean, even like the Israel Palestine issue. For instance, Josh Davis, Ali Alexandria, both Ashkenazi Jewish, and they speak out against the crimes of what Israel uh, is are doing. And so when I have allies of the Caucasian persuasion, they're able to say, no, 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 this isn't right. And because it's almost like when the whole when everybody started, the fuck Trump song came out. When that came out here, out in California, I wasn't here yet, but it came out, and all these people that had that mindset. But nobody really got to the point of really echoing that sentiment until Eminem said it. And I know this is messed up to say, but it's almost like some people need to hear it from other outlets. I mean, or other viewpoints. Like, I can sit here and say, XYZ, but it might take literally for, like Ryan Knight to say the exact same thing, or Dan Price or somebody like that. It might take for them to say it for somebody else to listen. Uh, but my goal is to, even if people can't get to the point of a perfect kumbaya and love each other, I just hope that we can get to a point of being peaceful. People with all like I pull this out because the Bible literally says this, and this is what I stand by. It says to be peaceable. You still try to have try to keep going. Hey, and I just feel like the only way that we tug along is by educating ourselves and by being fully aware. It's like I can't understand what a woman feels like with a boss who maybe sexualizes her and treats her inappropriately unless I ask her about it, because that doesn't happen to me. I don't get sexualized at work. I've never gotten sexualized. Oh, sorry. Can you hear me a little bit better? Let's see. What did you say, Jay? In my opinion, the war is government versus citizens. This is why Biden gives billion Netanyahu. Well, now Bennett, he's going to be given those billions too. But yes, I know exactly what you mean. Education is the key, and that's what I always try to all my is listen to all three of my channels, then you will get a full understanding of everything that I'm truly talking about. Because sometimes I feel that, the religious aspect, it needs to be talked about, added in. And even if we're talking about verbs and psalms and the way you should treat each other, just on how we should act, if even for those things, go to the actually, let me try this. Let me try taking off the earphones. Is that sounding? My earbuds are out. Is that a little better? Oh, wait a minute. Let me try this. Signal. Figure maybe I'll try turning my Wi-Fi on since I just made it home. Is this any better? Cool, cool. Yeah. Yeah, I'm saying if you watch all of my different channels, you're able to get a much of all the different things we're talking about. Because on my Hebrew apologetics page, I don't only talk, it's not solely just specifically religion, even though it's a religious context. A lot of it is ancient history, which I'm teaching. Um, I've been fortunate enough to look at archaeology of those things and do a lot of deep studying. So if we have a better understanding and grasp of all the things which got us to the point, in society, it's the only way you can fix it. So that's always my push. I appreciate Jay for hopping in. You said I have not seen any of your channels. Oh, this is my first one. Well, this would be what I guess I would consider my main channel. I started this one first, roughly 2 years ago. Um, my other two channels is the Political Matrix. That one is my live stream, which I normally do Saturday nights. Um, and my other channel is Hebrew Apologetics with Marcus Cage. That one is a little newer. I just started maybe about 6 months ago. But yes, I definitely recommend checking out all those channels. If you don't follow me on Twitter, please make sure to follow me on Twitter, and then my Twitter handle will link to all of my different pages. And so my Twitter pages are titled for my YouTube channels, if that makes sense. Um, yeah, Stevie says mostly it takes listening and pay attention. Listen to people that are talking about what they've been going through. Just because it ain't happened doesn't mean it happened to you. Yeah. Um, and you're having that Daft Punk voice again. Yeah, I guess I probably better hop off here and probably close this one on up. I do got a lot of projects, which I got. Well, are you on Facebook? Or if you're not on either one of those, uh, I will put let me see if I can actually comment in here because I'm on my phone, so it's a little different. There we go. I will put my email in comments. That way, you all can get a hold of me very easily if you're not online. That is my email address, my main email address. So yeah, you can always and another thing, if you have questions or stuff which you'd like me to look into or cover, definitely hit me up on that. I love to try to answer questions. I love to be given a new project to go into. Highly allergic to all things metadata. Never bought a smartphone either. I don't blame you. I really don't. I just know that for me, because I'm already so monitored, I know that it for me I mean, being former military, they got my DNA, they have my fingerprints, they have like my eye analysis, facial recognition, voice recognition. I mean, they have so much stuff on me at this point now. They literally know like all the trainings that I've had. I've had marksmanship training, explosive training, a lot of different trainings. And so I know that, that for me, they're definitely watching me. Um, where did I serve? Let's see. Well, I was Navy, so it was a little bit different how we did our how most of my detachments. I was stationed for command out Sigonella in Sicily. That was the number one weapons supplier in the Mediterranean. I was working for weapon working at Momound. I also spent some time with EOD, explosive ordnance disposal, and went through a handful of marksmanship schools. Went through VBSS training, which is like vessel part of vessel boarding team. Italy, I was in Italy, well, stationed Italy, stationed in Spain, and in Puerto Rico. Um, and then I've had I've had my tours, if you want to call them tours, into a couple of combat regions. Um, I, I prefer to not say which ones, but I've been to 4 war zones. I'll say that. So I think of which things have been going on. I got out of the military in 2005. I went in '98. So think about the things that were going on from '98 to 2005, and you could probably figure out where I was at. But oh, I see my buddy Shadow Band just hopped in. Thomas just hopped in. Oh, you guys all catch me at the end right when I'm about to hop off. Oh, let's see. But let's see. Anyone notice that the FBI first round, all the former military and police who stormed the Capitol, they all have their. I'm gonna have to look into that, Thomas. I definitely will have to look into that. I know, I know that it's pretty interesting how all of a sudden they troops, yeah, they can mount up troops, police, whatever you want to call them, at the Capitol for certain things, and then all of a sudden, well, I don't know why we can't get enough personnel. I mean, it's just a wag the dog. That's all it is. They knew these dumbass Trump supporters were going to come up there and act a fool, and they literally just let everybody just step back and let them run around and act a fool and let the Capitol Police handle it. Can you discuss depleted uranium poisoning? I will actually, you know what? I will do that. Tomorrow's show, I will talk about depleted uranium poisoning. And it's this is a topic which I do. I research all these things, but it all depends on my audience. Sometimes my audience is not very engaged in getting into certain topics, or it's something that hasn't even crossed their mind. So a lot of times I don't talk about those different things, but I'm always looking into them and researching them. Uh, the depleted uranium. It all depends. Poisoning. It all depends on which parties are we talking about with the uranium and how they're handling it, because let's see, Jaden X has the best video, 1 of 6. I will definitely have to check that one out. Definitely have to check it out. Um, that's what. Well, yeah, I gotta remember. I gotta remember with Shadow Band. Well, there's not a subject that you're not looking into, and so that's part of why I love that. My audience sometimes is I won't say sometimes. My audience, a lot of times, is smarter than I am, and helps me figure out what I need to be talking about. So I definitely appreciate you all. Definitely a reciprocal relationship. You guys give to me, and I give right back. Oh, the ones using the Hellfire missiles. Okay. Actually, on that one, I can get you some actual data points on that. So, I I would rather to talk about that with data. So I will definitely bring that in tomorrow. I got a couple of buddies that can shoot me some info. Um, Literally just opened the gates and escorted them in. Yes, that's exactly what they did because they wanted to be able to. I believe that they know that the bottom is gonna fall out of the economy. They know that shit is coming. And so their goal is we got to try to make sure we keep these barriers and shit up as much as possible. So if you let January 6th happen, then you got a good excuse to, oh, well, see, we need these barriers because look at just what happened. It could have been 10 times worse. And then they all get on and do their whole best Hollywood routine of how terrified and scared they were. Jaden X footage was no bueno. That dude is a fed. Ooh. Yeah, Convo Couch had good footage. Status Coup had really good footage. In fact, a lot of the I believe it was CNN that literally took Status Quo's footage and used it on their broadcasts. Uh, your expertise is in medicine and finance. Well, I definitely probably need to have you. You need to probably check out my live streams on uh, live streams on the Political Matrix because we are going to be talking quite a bit about this Delta variant and Johnson and Johnson. So it's going to be interesting. Jay says my expertise is in medical. I'm Shuttle Ben. He's a friend. He's a fed dude. Oh, okay. I'll still check him out. We'll check him out. I love to compare all the different information. Yeah, but like Stevie says, I'm not familiar with Jaden X either, but I will find out. I will make sure to keep a note. What was I going to say? I think I had an announcement. Oh yeah, an announcement. I haven't figured out exactly how this is going to work scheduling, but for those who are a friend and a fan of Tedros Finkramariam and the what is it the Geon Journal. If you guys are all familiar with him, then great news. He will be doing a segment. I believe it's going to be every 2 weeks, but he is going to be on the show a lot more often. So, I definitely look forward to that. Let's see, 999. Well, I have to, and I'll try to be fair. Keeping in mind that he's a friend of yours, Jay. I'll make sure to be fair. Let's see. I watched him with Katie Halper the night of January 6th. Ooh, see, as if our government could not have prevented January. Oh, they could have easily prevented it. Yes, and it was just like a Benny Hill sketch. I was thinking the same thing, or like Hee Haw. Either one. I mean, it's pretty ridiculous. Um, Yes. Are you familiar with Tedros, Jay? Oh, well, I guess. Well, of course you are. You spelled his name perfect. So anybody who knows how to spell his name obviously knows who he is. Let's see. Has footage which catches the undercovers who are really bad actors. Huh. Yeah, I have to look through that with a very I have to look through it with a really critical eye, look in the background, like what you were talking about, looking for the feds in the video. I found that it was pretty strange that they literally let somebody walk in to actually complete a prophecy from The Simpsons. I don't know. I figured maybe somebody out there has probably started a church of Homer Simpson by now because for some reason they just seem to always be dead on a lot of these freaking future events. So either they can read time, and or they're involved. I honestly believe that Hollywood, what they love to do is they love to throw out whatever they're working on or things to look forward to in the past. And they do that shit and throw it out in movies just to kind of get you used to and prepared, even if you're going to be still fight against it, to mentally get you prepared for when they start to screw you over. Let's see. The agent provocateurs literally killed her for the agenda. Oh, I guess I missed something. Killed who? I don't know who got killed in here. Oh, or if you're talking about the lady who climbed through the window, John Sullivan's video has the AP from the entrance to the exit. Well, I look at it like this. I, I don't think that they were planning on that woman getting shot, if that's what we're talking about. Ashley Babbitt. Yes, I don't think that that was the plan. I think what it is the police, they literally uh, these crazy ass people. If I'm left kind of by myself as the security, as the law enforcement, and I'm watching a whole scourge of people come running at me, somebody getting shot too. I mean, ooh, I didn't know that they broke the window for her. Wow. Maybe the CIA are just really big Simpson fans. It's not even just the Simpsons. It's The Simpsons, it's Futurama. I could show you so many movies. I mean, think about it. The movie Minority Report. Granted, we don't have the little clones that they, I mean, not the what they weren't clones. I mean, what the twins, the triplets sitting there, in a pool, having psychic visions. But they're literally, what they're doing is they're trying to data mine everything we do. That way that they can start to predict your behavior. Okay, well, we notice on Friday nights you normally go here. Saturday you normally do this. Sunday you normally wake up. After enough data comes in, they could start to figure out, a routine, a pattern, and that's going into this future pre-crime stuff, which they've been talking about. If you guys aren't familiar with what they've been, the pre-crime arguments that they've been putting out there, you should really look at it, because it is something that is going to be, it's not something that's a flash in the pan. Like, honestly, a lot of this stuff that you're hearing about, before we would hear flash and it goes away. The stuff you're hearing about now, I would expect them to start becoming parts of your reality. See, Max Blumenthal investigation. Ooh, I don't never want to be on Max Blumenthal's bad side of an investigation. Okay, cool. Yeah, okay. Let's not fight and fuss here. Let's not fight and fuss. We'll but we try to always be honest about it, and so I'm going to give a fair shake. I'm going to listen to the information. I do trust my buddy Shadow Band Refugee, but I don't want to start off with automatically dismissing what Jay is talking about either. I consider myself like I just talked about. I listened to dumbass Tucker Carlson earlier today and wanted to stab myself in the face for a moment. But let's see, what's another good one? Very strange how many cops committed suicide after that, and how many heart attacks went down that day. Stevie, we got to talk about. That's what we're gonna talk about. I want to. Yeah, we got to talk about this January 6th shit, because I haven't really figured out which angle I wanted to talk about it, and that for a while I thought it was kind of going away, but Pelosi wants to open up a new damn council on the shit. So, I guess I need to still deal with it. It's not going away. Oh no, I don't doubt your honesty, Jay. I don't doubt your honesty. I'm just saying that maybe your friend could have missed some things in there. That's all. That's what I think maybe Shadow Ban is trying to say, that maybe they might have missed some things. And I know a lot of times, especially in the independent community, if somebody goes a little bit off or they're a little bit, we're quick to say they're an agent, and stuff. So I mean, we got to be careful with that. Sometimes they are. So I can't fault for people for thinking like that. But we can't automatically assume everybody is directly. Um, See, you say you watched John's video in real time. Okay, cool. Um, I was speaking of the suicides. Um, what about what about McAfee? And now they're trying to say that, oh, well, there was a note stuffed in his pocket that, you know, it was definitely, a suicide because he had a note. I'm like, man, get the fuck out of here. Please, please stop playing. Um, let's see. Yep, yes, we will. Um, let's see. I saw things John didn't because he was traumatized and in shock. Okay, yeah, I mean, yeah, he could have just been, you know, all of us are not sharp all the time, right when we're in the moment, and sometimes it's you gotta go back and look back at your stuff. I can tell you how many times where randomly I'll be on my other channel and one of my other videos might pop up. Weird. It suggests to me, but it doesn't suggest my shit to anybody else. I don't know. Anyway, but um, I'll look back at something old that I did, and I was like, holy shit, you were on something. You were on to something there that you didn't even know what you were on to yet. It's like you had the tiger's tail and didn't even know you were grabbing it. But and also then I'll realize, oh, you definitely don't think that way anymore. Thank God you don't think that way anymore because you were a little bit lost there. And so, you know, eh, I myself even admit sometimes I go back and rewatch stuff and realize I missed things, or I could have said things a little bit differently, or it was information I meant to put in there that I just didn't put in there. Um, let's see. The Speaker of the House holds jurisdiction over the Capitol Police and the National Guard. That is true. And that is possibly why we have the issues that we have. I mean, anybody who knows me, I don't like to call women out of their names, but honestly, if you guys hear a recording where I'm calling her out of her name, I'm not going to apologize for it. The woman is the scum of the earth, so I'm sorry. Please don't take that as offensive that I just automatically just randomly disrespect women. Uh, Nancy Pelosi is not a woman in my eyes. She's a demon. So that's or a psychopath or a very heartless, just cold, rich asshole. So any of those people who fall in that category, like I love how Twitter's like, would you like to rephrase your tweet? No, I meant to call them an asshole. I meant to call this person a fuckface. Yes, I did. Don't edit shit about what I said. I intentionally curse people out. I don't accidentally curse people out. Let's see. What was that? I'll check those videos out. Yes, definitely. I will definitely check it out too. And let's see. Blumenthal propaganda. All right. Jaquel Retka. Okay. So yeah, when I see Jaquel, I will know that that is you. Um, Thomas, you like that? Oh, there's so much shit that I want to call that woman, but and if you guys will see on my channel, I got a handful of videos where I let Pelosi have it on how I feel about her. If you especially a video which you guys might find a lot of entertainment enjoyment out of. What is it? I think it's called like Nancy Pelosi and impeachment or something like that. Look up that video because I start going into her reasoning for impeachment on Trump and then her not impeaching Bush and all her bullshit that she said in there. It's just it's stupid. It's dumb. And For me, it's almost kind of insulting that they really think that they can just say a lot of this dumbass shit and nobody is smart enough to get it. And I think part of what it is they've been so conditioned by DC and by the media. Oh no, no, this is what they think, and you know how they do their polls, which are extremely slanted and biased. And well, for one, even bias. A lot of their phrasing of the question is horrible. So, with that phrasing of the question being horrible, they never get proper understanding of exactly what the hell's going on. So, yeah, I gotta go finish up this video so I can hopefully get it done. I got like a couple of projects that I'm trying to get done for my Hebrew apologetics page so I can knock out a very, very important live stream. I'm not sure if I'm gonna do it as a video or a live stream. It will be um it will be on Deuteronomy 28, which is very important for understanding um, who the Israelites are. The Bible. I mean, the Bible literally says that you look in these chapters for a sign. It says that the signs will be on them, forever. So that's something which I got to get through these other videos and then drop that live stream, and then I want to get to my regular live stream, which I talked about last week. I did a little bit of going into that yesterday, talking to Ed, talking religion, uh, but I want to get to a point where Sundays I'll start doing, read it. What did I call it? I'm trying to remember what name did I call it. I don't know. It was like uh, training what was it, non-believers to take down evangelicals or something like that. I don't remember what I called it, but like the down a whole lot of pigs, and I'm they are one of my if I get like the mobsters would do sometimes. If I got to go contract, the hit from outside the house in this sense, then I will do that. Also, I know that there's probably a lot of people who are getting tired of just some of the stuff which the evangelicals say and believe. And I know especially a lot of people in the LGBTQ community would love to have some ammo to use against them, especially when the ammo I will be giving you will be coming straight out of their own gun. Let's see. I like Galatians 4:16. Oh yeah, and the funny thing is, a lot of Christians love Galatians. A lot of Christians love they like to go to Galatians because figure out where they can twist something around. Because Galatians can be twisted around if people don't have a full grasp of all. Like you got to have a really good, firm grasp of the Old Testament to really know what's going on in Romans, Galatians, Hebrews. Um, yep, that's exactly correct. Have I now become your? Oh, let me read it. Have I now become your enemy because I tell you the truth? And just like somebody they told me the other day, oh, you just sound like the complainer. Oh, I was on Franco's show, and they said you guys just sound like the whiners. And I made sure to put out a scripture for him. It says that oppression makes a wise man mad, and a gift destroyeth the heart. And so my point to him is, I know the oppression that's went on a grand scale. I mean, pretty much everybody's oppression to a degree. I know about when I was being oppressed. I know about what the Ottoman Turks as they forced Islam across the Levant and across North Africa and displaced a lot of those people. About you know, urban segment. I know about the transatlantic, the sub-Saharan. the Silk Road. I mean, whichever you want to go into, I know about them all. I know about who was involved in all of them. I know who was quarterbacking the stuff at the highest school. So all of those things, all those different things, have to always keep in mind, when you're dealing with somebody who knows the difficulty of all. I mean, not as the. So I guess on that note, I will end here. I know it's dinner time for a lot of people. Dinner time. Also, research. So, one, thank you all for joining me today. You playing nicely, and it's about trying to build and work together, and the only way we can do that is by listening to each other, having an open mind, and not being aggressive to each other in a way where we all start getting upset with each other. So that's have a great one. It has been a pleasure. I was honestly going to get off like 45 minutes ago, but my friends hop on, and I didn't want to hop off, quickly while you guys are on. So that said, you all have a good one. Thank you all for joining the show. Thank you for the new visitors to the show, Jay. And this will be Monday through Thursday. So make sure to tune in and catch me tomorrow. You guys have a good one.